All right, tonight we're so pleased to welcome tonight's guests. Tonight's author, Cameron Walker, is a writer based on California's Central Coast, Santa Barbara. She's worked on feature essays and some fiction on the side with a focus on science, nature, and curiosities in and around the Pacific. Cameron's work has won awards from the American Society of Journalists and Authors and from the American Institute of Physics. In 2019, she won the Tamaqua Award from Hidden River Arts Press for her essay collection Points of Light. Cameron is a part of, how do you pronounce that? Skylance? Silence, a group of science writers who have been together since 2005. She also writes regularly for the science blog, The Last Word on Nothing. Please welcome Cameron Walker. Joining Cameron, who published this book with illustrator Cameron Turnham, is David John DJ Palladino, retired arts editor at the Santa Barbara Independent, and he's published two wonderful novels, Nothing That Is Ours and Werewolf, Texas. Please welcome DJ.
Thank you. Are we on? Okay. We had a long talk about we didn't know how we were going to do this, and it occurred to me finally that since there were going to be kids and adults here, and because this book is for kids and adults, instead of just a boring conversation, well, it wouldn't have been boring, but instead of a conversation that might be boring to younger people, I would do show and tell. And we picked 6 or 7 pages that we want to look at it, and each one I'm hoping will bring us to a topic that you will answer with knowledge and eloquence, right? And is it better if I stand up like this and do the okay?
Yeah.
All right. So here we go. We are launching off on this most beautiful book, and I swear everybody that I talk to, from Michael, all the people I was hanging out at the Independent, which I don't do as much as I used to, and they had just gotten this book and they were poring over it. I was like, oh my God, it really is a beautiful book. So, National Monuments of USA, Show and Tell. Okay, I'm not going to be this bad every page, I swear. Okay. You know, Alfred Hitchcock, when he talks about filming a city, he's always said that you should take that thing, if it's Paris or it's San Francisco, you should take that thing that's the most obvious sign of, you do the Eiffel Tower, you do the Golden Gate Bridge, right? And so, in that vein, we open with the Statue of Liberty, and it's a book about America. And there we are, we're straight in America. Did you love this page?
Me.
Did you? Yeah?
I do love this page.
Huh?
And we knew right away that we were going to do Statue of Liberty because just what you said, it's just such a, we talked yesterday about not saying the word iconic, but it is an iconic symbol of
I was not going to say
America.
that we were not going to say
Yes,
iconic.
we'll try not to say it anymore.
Yeah. And I'm right, look, I promise not to use the word iconic.
Oh, there you go.
So, it's a good place to start, it's America, to talk about how you got involved in the book. Like, did you pitch this story to this publisher, or how did the book come about?
Yeah, well, so actually I didn't. It's kind of amazing. It really fell into my lap. I had worked with this woman named Kate Sieber who wrote a book about the national parks. We'll have these if anyone wants them, with the same illustrator, and then she wanted to go on and write for adults, and so she recommended me. So I got an email. It was March 16th, 2020, that they wanted someone to work on this book, and I was so excited. And then of course the pandemic happened, or was happening already, and so then in October of that year we started again working on this.
So there was a lull where
Yes.
we didn't do anything?
Yes, and
You couldn't really travel, and you could do research at home and things like. Did you have an idea of like what the outline of the book would be?
At that point, no, because we weren't even sure. I mean, things were so uncertain; they didn't even know they were going to do the book anymore. So in October, they finally said, "Oh yes, let's go for it."
That's great. And then, that's let's go on to page 2. We're gonna keep this moving and keep it lively. So we have this very, very not iconic thing. And then the next page we turn to was Stonewall, which I thought was so brilliant. It was like this great from like America, the obvious America, to the America that is monumentalized now. But it's, you know, it's LGBT and Q, the a world that, yeah. Did you go there?
I haven't been there.
Yeah?
No, but I'd love to go
Anybody
there.
been there? No. You know, so there are how many monuments?
There's about 130. They keep changing, which is, we'll talk about it a little later, but that's one of the neat things about monuments is they're very flexible. They can kind of roll with the times. And so this is one of the newer monuments.
This is like in the last 6 years or something,
Yeah,
10 years
yeah.
or something like that. So then when you were working, when you got going, everything was going with the book, did you argue about what you were gonna include and what you weren't gonna include and what, you know, what kinds of things?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we argued.
No?
But, you know, Chris and myself and the editor all talked about the kinds of things we wanted. We wanted a good mix of historical monuments and natural monuments, and also a range across the country. So, and it was, you know, we do have 2 that are in New York, but these both seemed really important, and so I'm so
Yeah.
happy they're both in there.
The book is divided up into regions.
Mhm.
It's like there's Eastern region and Western, and finally comes down here, so this is where that comes. Okay, I'm moving on to the next page for a very, very important reason. Jewel Cave. How about there? Did you go there?
I didn't go there, but that is really on my list. It seems amazing. I mean, when I talked to the rangers there, they said you go in and it's like if you've ever had those geodes that you can break open with a hammer, it's like walking through one of those.
And the reason that we picked this, besides that beauty and that and all of that, is to talk about the artist. And everybody loves this guy.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Chris Turnham, who did the other books too,
He
right?
did the other book too. Yeah, the
Uh-huh.
National Park book.
And so what was it like to work with him?
It was great. So I started for about a year. I did research and I called people at the parks. I called friends groups. We did some traveling to some of these places. And then I had done a first draft, and then he started getting the draft and started working on the illustrations. And then we went back and forth a little
Oh.
bit over the next year.
So did he send you drawings, or what did he send you to, so that you'd have an idea what he was doing?
He sent, once he'd finished a page, he would send it to me first, the black and white versions, and
Yeah.
then the color versions.
Yeah.
And he said I have not worked on a book before, but he said in the past, they've really tried to keep the illustrator and the author separate. But we had kind of this secret email conversation, which was great, because our editors were all in the UK, and so sometimes it was just so much easier to solve a problem just by emailing him in LA.
In newspapers, they keep the,
Oh,
they keep,
really?
yeah,
Okay.
they keep the the photographers away, and that's because they're always fighting. So no, there was no fight for
We
this
did not
one,
fight.
either?
No,
Come
no
on,
fighting.
when is there gonna be a
No.
fight on this book? My spouse, who's sitting over there, down low down, wanted to know what he did. What was the technique that he used for these drawings?
Ooh.
Do you know?
I wish I could talk about it better, but he has some wonderful videos of him working on it, and it's just he does a series of colors. So is that kind of what you would? Is it like block printing or screen
It's like a
printing?
lithograph, right, or a screen print?
Yeah,
I don't
but I
know.
know there's he goes through layer after layer.
Do you know what it is?
No. Yeah.
Yeah. They're very beautiful, and the whole aesthetic is like this 50s, retro, whatever, but it's very modern at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
really,
I
it
love
really
it,
looks, really looks new. It's great. Okay. Now, this is an interesting one. Pullman. Anybody know what Pullman is? You know,
Well, Pullman cars.
exactly,
Train, on the
exactly.
train, yeah.
So there's a,
People sleep.
pardon me?
For people sleep. The Pullman
Yeah,
cars,
yeah, I never slept in a Pullman car. Did you ever sleep in a
I
Pullman
haven't
car?
yet, but I know
On
about
the
it.
train.
So they made a monument to Pullman, and I'm not sure where is it.
It's in just right outside Chicago.
Uh-huh.
And then 3 weeks after the book went to print, they upgraded it to a National Historical Site.
Oh, I thought you told me that they like kicked it out.
Yeah.
but-
Oh no.
No,
It got this. It got this better. I don't know if better is the right, but I know it gets more funding and it's kind of more recognized as this
Oh.
wider
It got promoted. And
place.
this
It
is,
got promoted. Yeah.
yeah, this is probably the most utilitarian place. I mean, it kind of made America, right?
Yeah, and
That
it's
kind
where
of-
a lot of unions,
Kind
the
of
union movement started.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right, there was a big strike,
hmm
huh? Okay, we're moving right along through this. Muir Woods. Now, this is the closest we've come to home so far. This is also a very, very beautiful thing. And so far, we've talked about the artists and we've talked about what is in here, but we haven't talked about the writing, which I think is amazing so throughout this whole book. And I want to ask you to read
Okay.
this one passage right
Okay.
here, so people have an idea.
Okay. Muir Woods. Take a big, deep breath in. Ah. That cool, foggy air is exactly why coast redwoods love it here on the ocean's edge in Northern California. Walk the peaceful trails through 558-acre Muir Woods National Monument, and you'll find yourself in the middle of an old-growth redwood forest. Here in Muir Woods, the tallest redwood reaches about 258 feet. Elsewhere, they can grow even taller, making redwoods the tallest trees in the world. In the cool quiet beneath the branches of these ancient wonders, ferns spread out their brilliant green fronds. Look for ladybugs clustered on horsetail ferns or swarming at the edge of the trail. Did you know that a group of ladybugs is called a loveliness? That was my favorite thing. I love that.
Is this your favorite passage?
Well, I think I love those words. That there's a name for those words that are the group of animals, but I think those are so fun.
So, I mean, really, I want to bore people by repeating it over again. The writing is really beautiful throughout the whole book, and it's a great combination of there's wit, there's like there's mysteriousness, there's like really great descriptions. How long did it take you to write?
Well, I did the first draft over the course of a year, and I did each month I would do one of the sections. Like I did the East
Oh,
in 1 month and the Midwest, and kind of moved through
Uh-huh.
that. And then we went back and did lots of rounds of editing.
when you did rounds of editing, did you change subjects too? Did you say, well, this isn't really working, this is a better idea over here, or
A little
mainly
bit.
you had it in the first draft?
Well, there was a little bit of that, and one of the things, like Pullman, that changed, there's a monument in Arizona called Chiricahua that sounds amazing, but there was a rumor that it was going to become a national park, so at the last minute we pulled it and put a different one in, and it's still not a national park, but it would still be a wonderful place to
So
visit.
you had to cut some
We had to cut,
things,
yeah.
move some things around. All right. Did I show that page? I showed it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm very good at show and tell. More tell than show. Okay, well, actually, is that right? Did I miss that? No, okay. Actually, there's this beautiful page at the end of it that it's a series of houses all around, mostly all around, right?
Mhm.
And what's really great about them is most of these houses, I think, except for one, are people of color.
Yes,
Right?
yeah.
There's Cesar Chavez house, there's Buffalo Soldier, George Washington Carver, Booker T. Washington, and one that you really liked, right? My ears. Medgar and Myrtle Everett.
Yeah, Medgar and Murray Evers. And this is a newer one that was, actually there was a bill passed during the Trump administration that made 5 new monuments, and this was one of them. It's in
Huh.
Mississippi, and it's the only one that has a woman as part of the title. So I think that was kind of nice looking at all these monuments and seeing what the gaps were. So
Yeah,
I think We have some work ahead of us.
We do have work ahead of us. And then well, what I forgot to ask you and what I mean to ask you is how monuments are selected. So how does that work?
Yeah, so this is like one of the cool presidential powers is a president can make a national monument and they just sign off on it. I mean, now they do lots of research and talk to lots of people, but national parks have to be made by Congress, and so this is just the special thing that a president can do. So if anyone wants to be president, you can make some monuments.
It's a reason to be president.
Yeah, exactly.
Forget all the other stuff. And this was also the only one that was not named by a president, right?
Oh, well,
Didn't you say Trump?
the
Trump did-
Congress put all these
Congress put
5
this one,
ones.
yeah. Okay, well, we're gonna finish this tour of the United States in a very, very cool, very, very deep place. When I was a kid, I always wanted to go to the Mariana Trench. You wanna go? He does too, right? Except for this recent thing with the submersible, kind of made me think, oh, maybe I'm getting too old, I don't want to. Right. And, obviously you didn't go visit
I didn't go with
this one.
No.
So did you do like a road trip and did you do,
We did do a road trip. I'm looking for my road trippers, but I don't see.
Where's
Oh,
the
there's
road
one of
trip?
them,
Okay.
yes. And
Yeah.
some road trip might have gone better than other parts. We went to 6 wonderful national monuments, and then we had a forced hike at Fort Ord National Monument, which is near Monterey. What? But no, so we did go see national monuments as a family, and they're great because they're often smaller than national parks, less crowded, but like so beautiful. So we really, in Utah and New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, we saw some really wonderful places. And Fort Ord is also wonderful. We just picked kind of the wrong day to go for our family.
so this brings to the end of our show and tell portion. And I wanted people to Q&A with Cameron here. If you'd like to ask some questions of the author, and then I've got one last thing I want to say. Okay? Anybody have any questions?
Yes, maybe.
You said, because this is your first book you've worked on, how is it compared to things you've done in the past? Did you enjoy doing a book format versus the formats you've written in the past, or how is it different?
I liked it because it was slower, and I'm kind of a slow thinker and writer, so it was nice to have a lot of time to do the research and then check it and call people back. So no, I loved it, and I'd love to do more books for sure. Yeah.
Even magazine journalism is fast. in
Yeah,
some ways,
relatively
right?
speaking,
You
yeah.
you get an assignment, you think you have a couple months, and then the time is gone,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
What was your favorite one to see completed of the ones you made in the book?
Oh, the favorite one to see completed. Gosh, that's a hard question. I'm trying to think. One of them, Grand Staircase Escalante, it involved a lot of different people. Like I talked to a bee biologist, and I talked to an archaeologist, and I talked to a paleontologist, and so when all of that came together and everyone, because for this, unlike some of the journalism I've done, I sent it back to all the people I talked to just to make sure it was accurate. And so once everyone was on board with that, I was like, yes, it's done. It's also a beautiful place that we traveled to. So, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Elizabeth, yeah.
This just seems so exciting. It's like, must be like getting a book cover, but like a whole book's worth every time one of these comes in. But, so I was wondering, in your manuscript, did you indicate to Chris like what you wanted him to draw? Like how he should approach the illustration for each page, or was that really up to him?
It was kind of up to him, and like my first couple sections I sent to him, I did that, and then I realized like he was amazing, and so I stopped doing that because he just picked out great things to do. So yeah, I wasn't sure how that would work, but I think also because he's done this other book, he knew what he was doing more than I did for sure.
Tell them about the company that does this book. They're not United States publishers, right?
Yeah, they're based in the UK. and I guess it's a really big press over there, and they've wanted to have more of a presence here in the U.S. So they have done all these great books that are very iconic American themes. So they have done national parks, national monuments, and they've done some state-by-state books. They've done, I think, definitely California and maybe Texas and New York and other kind of state travel books that are big illustrated books.
Uh-huh. So when you would do your writing, you would send it to Chris, and he would do his drawing, and he'd send it back to you, and you kind of go, yeah. Then you'd send it to the publishers, and then they would.
The publishers were kind of the intermediary for all of this, so I'd get it through my editor, but then on the side we'd be like, that was awesome, yay.
And does all that take place on a computer? It's not like you write it, and I mean, you don't snail mail, or maybe snail mails the drawings?
Yeah, no, it was all on the computer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, and so it was really nice because for so long it was me and my little Word document. So it was nice once the illustrations started coming in. I was like, oh, this is really a book. This is really happening.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Great. Any more questions?
Yeah, Michelle.
How many national monuments are there? And what was the process of you figuring out what you were gonna put in and what you weren't?
Yeah, so there's about 130, and there are actually 3 new ones in the last year. So it was tricky, and I worried about it a lot because they're all so interesting, and also I know people have favorites, and I could just see people being like, you missed my favorite monument. And like we have a beautiful Carrizo Plain here that is not in the book. At the very end, there's a list of all the monuments, so that's, I feel like at least people can go and look for their favorite one. But I mean, you could do 2 other books with the rest of the monuments. So yeah, but it was tricky, and I did think about it a lot. And there
And were you
are
limited by the publisher? They just said you can only
do so many. So I tried to do different things to put more in, like group all the homes together so we could do lots. Or there's forts, and so there's a group of forts all together. But still, there wasn't enough room.
I think it was really great the way that you picked from themes, like some things were just natural, some things were political, some things historical. I think they did a great job. And the editors must have been happy too with the choices.
I hope so, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything from them. Anybody else? Any big questions before we go on to a sign? Oh, that hand went up, it was for that. Yes?
I just wondered, did you decide how it was organized? It
No,
seems
we-
really accessible,
Yeah.
the regional.
Yeah, no, it was following the National Parks book is actually I have one, is the same. If anyone wants to take a look at it, and I think there's some here somewhere. But it was following the same format, so that was really easy, cause I just, followed along what they did and didn't have to make those decisions, so,
Oh, they had format.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
I have another question. On our way here, we were talking about the whole 4th grade pass that all of California gets. And so many people don't know about it, but it's Every Kid in a Park is the name of the pass. And I thought, I used to be a teacher, and I thought every school was for sure here, knowing that you're the local writer, but that this could be a part of every 4th grade curriculum to excite the kids to then go use the pass to get in all the parks, and those could be a pair together. Anyways, I just, and Peter had that idea too, like,
Yeah.
that should be, we tried to go to national parks, you have the school to go to as many as you can, but if you plan ahead and you actually can get the kids excited to see, then they can share with their families, I don't know, cause it's a free program that's not tapped into enough, I think.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, and I mean, cause it is expensive to go to some of the national parks, and the monuments generally aren't as expensive, but some of them are, and it'd be great to get more people out and about and seeing all these wonderful places. So yeah, Peter will work on it. Okay.
We could help you market. No.
Yay.
Okay, well, before we get to the book signing, I found this today. As I was coming here, I saw something online. It's something that was written by the New Yorker writers, I'm not even sure which writer it was, about William Steig, this guy who wrote Shrek. I read the original Shrek to my son like 250 times. It's really gross. You know, the little boy, he loved it. It's really, Steve was around till he was like 99 or something like that, writing and doing cartoons and things. But I think it pertains here. Writers for young children have a nearly impossible task to amuse both the kid being read to and the adult doing the reading. Doing one or the other is hard enough, and only a select handful of geniuses can manage both. Your mother's a genius. Probably your family thinks you're a genius. So I'll make way for you to do signing.
Yay, thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.